Princess Eleanor is due for a punishment. Sir Lawrence peeked into Prince James's room with the integrity of a fine bodyguard. He looked straight ahead even though the royal mistress Nerissa lay on a bed without her dress. Nerissa, on the other hand, was thrilled because she had successfully provoked the prince. She wanted to get revenge on Ellie for ruining her official mistress ceremony. Sir Lawrence nodded. "Your Highness, what do you have in mind?" James paced for a bit and then grinned. "In my heart, the princess is not even comparable to a servant, so that's what we will do. We will make her serve us." Sir Lawrence was trained by the best and not one to go against the prince's wishes. Deeper inside, however, he wondered if this was a wise move. Princess Eleanor had no idea that her father was responsible for the death of Prince James's parents and was not even aware why James hated her so much. But his thoughts didn't matter. He had vowed to protect and serve the prince, and that's what he intended to do. "I will ask Stewardess Maggie to get her right away." On the other side of the castle, there was a knock at Ellie's door. When she opened it, she found Stewardess Maggie. Maggie curtsied as custom, but when she looked up, she froze. "Everyone has been talking about how your face has changed. I didn't believe them." Ellie knew Maggie was a suspicious person and might have even stolen the medicinal herbs she had asked Florence to gather. Ellie had to be careful around her. "Yes, it was a master witch doctor, the best one in all the land. My mother sent for him," Ellie lied. Maggie pursed her lips and looked at Ellie with disgust. She never really cared for the princess. She had raised James herself and thought Ellie was beneath him. Ellie, on the other hand, was becoming impatient. "Why are you here, Maggie?" "His Royal Highness would like you to serve him and the royal mistress tonight." Ellie was completely taken aback. She wanted to spend the evening with Florence, preparing medicinal herbs and mixtures so that they would be ready for anything. She didn't even understand the words Maggie was currently saying to her. "Serve? What do you mean by serve?" Maggie's eyes shifted. "Serve as a servant, Your Highness." "A servant?" Ellie couldn't believe her ears. She may have been treated badly when she was a nurse, but never as badly as a servant. The prince had reached a whole new level. Clearly he wanted revenge for how she had upstaged Nerissa at the ceremony, but this was crossing a line. This was a deeper plot to undermine her in front of his whole staff, so they would look at Nerissa as the head of the house and Ellie as the mistress. Ellie had to nip this in the bud. She had to show him that she couldn't be bullied like this. "I am a princess, the head of the house. I am not their servant girl. You can tell His Royal Highness that I refused to come." Stewardess Maggie smiled coldly. "Apologies, Princess. His Royal Highness has said that starting tonight, the head of the house is going to be the Mistress Nerissa, not you." A cold wave floated down Ellie's spine. The staff would never respect a woman whom the prince looked down upon, and if they wouldn't respect her, she had no power. Without any power, her dreams of becoming queen were crushed. She might not even be considered a lowly princess anymore. Ellie countered with everything she had. "I'm not going anywhere. I am rightfully and legally still the princess." Maggie rolled her eyes. "I was afraid you would say that. I don't think you should go against His Royal Highness today, for your own sake." "What do you mean?" Maggie sneered at Ellie. "You provoked Mistress Nerissa today, and the mistress is in a bad mood. She wanted revenge, and here we are. If you serve them, they will forgive you, and you'll still be able to stay here in your room with all the privileges it offers. If you don't, I can't guarantee your life, and honestly, I think it would be good riddance." Ellie's heart fluttered. She knew Maggie was right. She had played a dangerous game at the ceremony. It had led to James getting quite mad, and now there was no way the prince would let her just get away with everything. "Hurry up, Princess. The prince doesn't have that much time. Tonight is a special night for him." At the mention of a special night, Ellie perked up. Then the prince probably planned to consummate his relationship with Nerissa. That would put Nerissa higher up in the house than Ellie. Ellie's mind whirred as she thought of a plan to undermine the prince. Perhaps being asked to be a servant was a good thing. It would be a good way for her to interfere and stop the consummation. Suddenly, Ellie looked up at Maggie and said, "Okay, let's go." Puzzlement fell on Maggie's face. "Wait, what?" "Let's go," Ellie simply said with a smile on her face. "You're not objecting?" "My prince has called on me to serve him. That's what I intend to do." Ellie had a plan. If she were to serve the prince, she would do so on her own terms. She would make sure the night was nothing like he planned it to be. "But you're not coming with me. You will stay here until I get back. Florence will keep an eye on you." "But I can't just..." "I'm not asking, Maggie. I'm ordering, as a princess." Maggie nodded at her, speechless. She didn't know why the princess had a change of heart, but it couldn't be good, and she had no way of warning the prince. Ellie looked up at Florence, who nodded back. "Go, princess. Take care." Ellie's mind raced as she made her way to the other side of the castle. She was determined not to let the prince have his special night and gain the upper hand here. She walked along the ramparts and turned towards the prince's wing of the castle. She noticed the flags adorning the walls. They were green and black with golden griffins, the colors of House Reeve. The prince and his house had just invaded a northern territory, and some of these flags were remnants of the battle. As Ellie got closer, she noticed some of the flags were blood-soaked and had evidently been collected from a deadly battlefield. An idea came to her as she walked under these. This battle had been particularly gruesome and difficult for the prince, who didn't like to think back on it. The hours after nightfall in particular brought back painful memories of his mistakes. Ellie smiled and found the nearest guard. "Can you get me one of those flags?" The guard was confused. "Your Highness?" "One of those flags. Please bring it down for me. The bloodier, the better." The guard looked up at the flags in puzzlement. Trained to follow orders, he did as he was told. He quickly brought a ladder, pulled the bloodiest flag he could find, and rolled it up for the princess. "Your Highness, does this work?" "Yes, thank you." "What do you need a flag for?" Ellie winked at him. "Maybe you'll hear about it in the morning." She left the astonished guard and made her way into the prince's wing at a leisurely pace. She was in no hurry and wanted to take her time. She would do whatever she could to hold on to power, and that meant the prince would not be enjoying his evening tonight. As Ellie approached the prince's door, she found Sir Lawrence standing outside on guard duty. He wasn't sure what the princess was carrying, but as she neared, he realized it was a furled flag. His lips twitched as he greeted her with a bow. "Your Highness." Ellie was about to walk with the flag right into the room when Sir Lawrence stuck his arm out. "Your Highness, I can't let you bring that in." Ellie unfurled the flag. "It's just a flag, Sir Lawrence. Look, no hidden daggers." Lawrence was perturbed but couldn't refuse her for just a flag. "Dare I ask, why do you have a flag with you?" Ellie turned and winked. "To cheer the prince up." Lawrence frowned. What on earth was she planning to do? "I'm here, my prince," Ellie sang out in a chipper voice. She was only pretending to be excited. Prince James may have forced her to be his servant for the night, but she had no intention of helping him have a special night with his mistress, Nerissa. Sir Lawrence, the bodyguard, was confused by Ellie's attitude and the war flag she carried, but he couldn't find any reason not to allow the flag in. As far as he could tell, it was one of the flags from the invasion the prince had led. The prince had ordered his troops to collect all the flags off the battlefield and hang them up on his wing of the castle. It reminded him of his victories, as well as another negative emotion that she intended to exploit tonight for her plan. Tonight would solidify Nerissa's role as head of household, making her higher up than Ellie. But Ellie was going to get in the way by any means necessary. "Who is it?" James yelled. Ellie put on a fake cheery voice and walked in. "It's me, my dear husband." As soon as she walked into the room, she saw James and Nerissa sitting behind a semi-sheer bed canopy. A figure in yellow leaned against a figure in black. She took another step, but James called out, "Stop. Just stand there. If I or the mistress need you, we will call for you." Ellie knew the prince and Nerissa were trying to torment her. They wanted her to watch them kissing and cuddling on the bed together. But Ellie wasn't fazed. Ever since she was transported from the 21st century, she had seen the prince for who he truly was, a cruel, unkind man. She wanted to hold him accountable for everything he put her through. She would do this by stopping them from consummating their relationship. She put on the happiest voice, "I'm here to serve, prince and mistress." Nerissa was about to kiss James when he put a finger up. He choked on his own words. He had expected Ellie to be upset, angry, crying even, but she sounded calm. "Does she sound calm to you?" he whispered to Nerissa. Nerissa shrugged. She wanted to continue kissing the prince. She knew the prince had never consummated his marriage with Ellie, and Nerissa wanted to get there first. If she could consummate her relationship with the prince, she would immediately rank higher in the hierarchy. James looked up. "The royal mistress is thirsty. Bring her some wine." "Of course, right away," Ellie replied in her fake happy voice that annoyed James. She set the flag down and poured some wine. Due to the blurry bed hanging, neither James nor Nerissa had noticed the flag yet. Ellie walked the wine over and gently lifted the hanging to Prince James's sneering face. Ellie's heart jumped, but she didn't allow herself to be even a little bit flustered. "Mistress, your wine," Ellie said in her sweetest voice. Nerissa had wanted revenge ever since Ellie had upstaged her at the royal mistress ceremony. Now, as Ellie poured the wine like a servant, Nerissa smiled. She wanted to humiliate Ellie further. "What a wonder! I can't believe the princess herself is serving us." Ellie knew Nerissa was taunting her, but she wouldn't take the bait. "It's fine, as long as the mistress is happy." She smiled at them both. James's heart filled with rage. Why wasn't this woman upset? Why was she so cheery? Annoyed, he waved his hand in Ellie's face. "All right, if the mistress needs anything else, we will call you." He angrily drew the bed hanging closed. On the other side, Ellie smiled. She knew she was getting under their skin, and she loved it. Her plan was working just as well as she had hoped. Ellie was often handed the worst patients in the emergency department, back when she was a nurse, who would threaten to hurt or even kill her. But it was her job to put a big smile on and not let anything affect her. The skill was coming in handy now. While Nerissa enjoyed humiliating Ellie, she was worried the prince was getting a little too obsessed with it. She needed him to focus on her. She wanted to make love to him so she could claim the head of the house title. "Should we ask her to wait outside while we consummate this relationship?" she asked seductively. "No, but we can continue where we left off. I want her to hear us. I want her to be jealous and angry." Nerissa liked what she heard. She placed her hands on his chest and he slyly took off her dress. James kissed Nerissa deeply. He could finally get the woman he loved and humiliate someone from the Eden family, the family that murdered his parents. So what if Ellie had no idea about this event? She was still a part of the family, and he was going to take out all his revenge on her. As things heated inside, Ellie decided to put the next part of her plan into action. She grabbed the flag and unfurled it. Walking back towards the bed hanging, she drew it open slightly and stuck the flag inside. "I'm cheering for you, my dear prince. Good luck." The two froze as Ellie waved the flag enthusiastically. Nerissa got red and embarrassed. She pulled up a blanket to cover herself. James growled, "What are you doing?" Ellie faked innocence. "Didn't you know? In olden times, a flag bearer used to cheer when the royal family consummated their relationships." The prince turned red in utter rage. "Are you seeking death?" I'm cheering for you, as is tradition. This is the history of House Reeve. I'm surprised you don't know your own history. Do you even recognize your own flag? James's eyes fell on the bloody flag. He realized what it was and where it was from. Images of dead villagers flashed in front of his eyes. Villagers he had massacred for no reason other than expansion and bloodthirst. All the lust drained from his body as the flag seared into his mind. Ellie smiled at his reaction. It was exactly what she was hoping for.